And I've identified as Republican ever since I was a small child because of the Republican, movement to give women the vote and to free the slaves. But then I find that what started out as an ideology got overtaken by this conservative right. They're not really talking about freedom, they're talking about their ideas as what is good for you. So for me, I see myself as a patriot, as what a real patriot looks like, as somebody that stands up in the face of injustice and, stands their ground. My stepdad, he had a contract business with Ford Motor Company, and so we moved to Prospect, Kentucky. We lived on the outskirts of Louisville. And then whatever contract he had with Ford didn't work out towards the end, so we ended up going back to California. And I just always wanted to come back to Kentucky. So I got married in California, and my kids were born in California until we got divorced. And I do have 2 babies that were born here in Kentucky, but neither one of them survived. So that was, So I actually moved to Nicholasville because of my son, Nicholas, because I didn't have him anymore. While we were driving back from a convention in Rochester, New York, I was driving like we drive in Kentucky, which is very fast, and I got a speeding ticket. And so I was like, okay, well, I can't really deal with this right now because I don't have the money to pay for it. I'll deal with it later. And then we had a hurricane that came in, and we had to batten down the hatches, and the downstairs apartment that I was staying in flooded out, so I ended up moving upstairs, and things just got lost in the shuffle, so I couldn't find the ticket.
Like her tags or whatever were like a day or 2 expired, and so I pulled her over, and then he figured out that she hadn't paid a ticket. Then when we got our car taken away.
Well, I started riding the bicycle back and forth to work. It was 18 miles one way. So my first time riding was on a Saturday. We were working overtime on a Saturday. None of the big wigs were there. Nobody was gonna, my supervisor could let me slide if I came in late. I rode the shoulder. I had a lot of scary experiences at the intersections and at the on-ramp. I had been going to the police quite frequently, telling them about things that were happening to me on the road. I was telling them about, cars, I've got to make my left-hand turn, and drivers were trying to, run into me, not accidentally, but intentionally. They'd be laying on the horn and then edging their car up on me to try to scare me. Take that and put me on a bicycle, and now I'm dealing with these same aggressive drivers. And so in my mind, this was just aggressive driving. In the police mind, I was just one of those scared cyclists dealing with regular traffic. What did I expect?
On Westport Road, there's a sign that's shaped like this. It says "Share the Road." It has a bike at the top, and then every single time I pass that sign, I point at it, going, "Look!" And I'm riding my bike, going, "Look, look! We're allowed to be here. We're allowed to be here."
Coming back from a Cranksgiving food drive, and I was exhausted. I had ridden my bicycle down there. I'd ridden all over town, and I was riding back and pulled a U-turn and started following me. And he even turned his headlights off. So when he pulled me over, he pulled me over to talk to me about my position on the road. Like I was in the right wheel track. I was in the right-hand lane in the right wheel track. We went back and forth over where I was supposed to be on the road. He then goes, "Well, I'm gonna write you for no lights." A woman speaking up for herself was not taken too kindly, and so yeah, I mean, if I had just been like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't know, thank you, officer," he would have just waved me on and it would have been fine. I went in to court over the ticket, and Eric Wright, the assistant county prosecutor, is telling me, "Look, I can prosecute you for being on the road. I'm gonna, he says, you have no right to be out there. You're on a bicycle, you can't be there. So you either plea a deal to the snow lights, or I'm gonna charge you with a felony." They basically waved the whole ticket away. I'm riding the white line, and a semi-truck blows past me in the lane at full speed. And at that point, I thought, am I gonna listen to Eric Wright, or am I gonna come home to my children? And I'm one of those people where if I'm right and I know I'm right, I don't back down. And so I was like, bring it on, bro. Then they started ticketing me for being on the road, like aggressively, you know. And then when people started dying, you know, like a family was killed out there, you know, a couple women were killed out there, teenagers killed. All of these people are being killed, and everybody's just okay with that, you know. And then we had Officer Burke Rhodes was killed. It's like, that is the end result. I mean, I still would call them and talk to like their sergeant. It was bizarre. It was like an unhealthy relationship. It really was. I felt like I was back with my ex-husband with the whole, I'm really trying to get you to like me. I really want you to like me and help me. But it's like nothing I do makes you happy. You know, even when I'm doing everything you've asked me to do, it's not good enough. I received 8 tickets and 1 arrest for riding my bicycle. I was always cited for careless driving. So as a Republican, my right to the road is guaranteed by the US Constitution. And I'll be damned if some local judge is going to tell me my constitutional rights don't exist. And so that's why I was arrested. The officer who arrested me, he came out, he goes, well, based on what's happened in the past, I'm going to arrest you. So we did. We worked it out to where everything, all charges were dropped against me. All the fees that the judge had ruled against me on the first 3 tickets were waived. The only thing was that I had to sign my rights to operating on US 27 away for 2 years. So for 2 years, I am not allowed to be on US 27, which is an interstate highway. And at that point, yeah, part of me was just sticking the middle finger to the man and saying, you screwed with the wrong person. I started getting death threats. People were aiming their cars at me intentionally. It was no longer a matter of everyday road rage. This was actual, they were out to get me. So some friends of mine in Louisville invited me to come out and stay with them and find a job here. And then once I got back on my feet, get my own place.
Out with old idiocy and into the new is what I'm getting so far.
It's like when they built the city, it's like they said, oh, here's a tiny road, let's just cut it off. And so there's really no way to get where you need to go without being on one of these busy roads.
I feel it's much more controlled than Nicholasville, a lot less hectic. We have bike lanes to use, which aren't totally safe, but they're there if needed be.
Yeah, I like it here better than there. Still some harassment, but not as much. Back at that place, we got cussed every single cuss word we got called, but here you hear a little F you, get off the road. So yeah.
I recently became the chair of the board of directors for KRCRC, which is the Kentucky Religious Coalition for Reproductive Choice.
Today I am at the EMW Women's Clinic for basically helping them with their reproductive rights.
We're talking about the freedom to live your life the way you see that it's best fit for you.
You have people getting up in people's faces. You have people chanting different idiotic things just regularly. And one thing it's always consistent is the same material they use day in and day out.
And then they call us heartless and stuff like that, but we're really just trying to help the women. They're harassing them, so we're there, and then they're like, you guys don't have to be here? It's like, yeah, we do, because you guys are here.
And to me, what I think about is Nicholas and Rachel. You know, I mean, I gave birth to them, but it was an abortion, is what I had. I had an abortion. I had an induced labor, and that was not what I wanted. And to think that they could have taken what was already a very painful moment in my life and make it so much more horrendous. That is wrong. And I feel like that's what the people of Nicholasville did to me. They took a difficult time in my life, and rather than being supportive and caring, they were ugly and hateful, and they made a difficult time horrendous. This wasn't about riding a bicycle. This was about a single mom taking the initiative to find another way to get to work in the face of no options. You know, I mean, I could have just been like, oh well, I give up, you know, let me go apply for welfare or whatever. But I was like, no, I'm gonna, you know, make it on my own, pull myself up by my bootstraps.
Get a motorcycle so I can ride on the interstate so I can visit friends back in Nicholasville. Otherwise I couldn't do that.